Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That was a beautiful moment. I really enjoyed that moment. Obviously, Ringo and Paul.
At 71, legendary filmmaker Ron Howard has finally broken his silence about his longtime connection with Hollywood icon Robert Redford, and fans everywhere are stunned by what he revealed. For decades, the two have been linked through stories of admiration, unspoken rivalry, and behind-the-scenes moments that shaped the golden age of cinema. Yet Ron's recent confession uncovers truths no one expected, insights into Redford's character, influence, and hidden struggles. This revelation not only reshapes their legacy, but also leaves audiences speechless at the bond they never fully knew. Ron Howard breaks his silence on Robert Redford. Ron Howard has finally spoken publicly about the passing of one of Hollywood's greatest icons, Robert Redford, and his heartfelt words left fans stunned. Redford, the legendary actor whose career spanned more than 6 decades, was best known for unforgettable classics like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, and All the President's Men. On Tuesday morning, the world received the heartbreaking news. Redford had died at the age of 89. Almost instantly, tributes began pouring in from actors, directors, and industry leaders across the globe, each honoring a man who reshaped the very identity of American cinema. Ron Howard, who himself has become a Hollywood institution, took to X, formerly Twitter, to share his tribute. His message was widely reported by major news outlets because it reflected not only admiration, but also deep respect. Howard described Redford as a tremendously influential cultural figure and an artistic game-changer, praising not just his acclaimed work on screen and behind the camera, but also his vision as a trailblazer. Howard specifically emphasized Redford's role in launching the Sundance Film Festival, a groundbreaking platform that supercharged the independent film movement and gave countless new storytellers their first chance to shine. "Thank you, Robert Redford," Howard wrote. "Your creative choices and pioneering spirit forever changed American cinema." For Howard and millions of fans, Redford's legacy is more than history. It's inspiration. Robert Redford, one of the most celebrated names in modern Hollywood, has now passed away. According to his publicist, the legendary actor died peacefully early this morning at his home in Utah, leaving behind a legacy that shaped cinema for generations. Redford first captured the world's attention in the 1960s with films like Barefoot in the Park. But it was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid that transformed him into a global heartthrob, cementing his place as one of the defining actors of his era. By the 1970s, even with only a single Oscar nomination as an actor, he had become the biggest star in the world. Yet Redford's influence stretched far beyond acting. He moved behind the camera to direct powerful classics, such as Ordinary People, which earned him an Academy Award, and A River Runs Through It. His vision gave birth to the Sundance Film Festival, now one of the most important stages for independent filmmakers worldwide. Beyond film, Redford was a passionate environmental advocate, lending his voice to causes that mattered deeply to him. His story was more than Hollywood. It was a movement, a life lived with purpose. But how did Redford evolve from a beloved on-screen icon to one of cinema's most respected directors? And what drove him to step behind the camera to shape stories in an entirely new way? The hidden scars behind the fame. Behind the dazzling silver screen image of Robert Redford lies a story soaked in heartbreak. According to Howard, Redford's name became synonymous with charm, talent, and Hollywood royalty. But the man behind the legend carried wounds that never fully healed. From childhood battles with illness to the devastating loss of loved ones, Redford's journey is as tragic as it is inspiring. And now, in 2025, whispers of new sorrow tied to his family and the Sundance legacy have surfaced, painting an even darker picture than his most dramatic films. Born in Santa Monica, California, Charles Robert Redford Jr. seemed destined for greatness. With his piercing blue eyes and golden looks, He captivated audiences in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting. But behind that magnetic smile was a soul deeply scarred. At just 11 years old, Redford faced a terrifying illness, polio. After swimming too hard in the ocean, he collapsed with fever and weakness, confined to bed for weeks. In an era before vaccines, the threat of paralysis or death hung heavy. Though he recovered, the fear etched itself into his memory, shaping the boy who would one day honor Jonas Salk in a documentary decades later. It was his first real brush with mortality, and sadly, not his last. Loss soon became a cruel companion. In 1946, his mother, Martha, a Christian Scientist, gave birth to twin girls despite doctors' warnings. Both babies died at birth, and Martha developed complications that eventually took her life in 1955 when Redford was only 18. Losing his mother left a permanent hole in his heart. His father, Charles, buried himself in long hours of work, leaving young Robert to seek comfort with his uncle David. But even that bond was ripped away when David was killed during World War II. "Death was on my shoulder 24/7, Redford later admitted. That grief drove him into rebellion. In his teenage years in Venice, California, he ran with gangs, pulling dangerous stunts to prove his courage. One reckless leap from a rooftop nearly killed him. Alcohol and despair followed. He lost his baseball scholarship at the University of Colorado due to heavy drinking and was expelled. Wandering Europe, he turned to art, but found his work lacked originality. It wasn't until he returned to New York and auditioned, chaotically, for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts that he finally found a way to channel his restless spirit. Acting became his salvation, a stage where pain could transform into art. But why did tragedy follow Redford so relentlessly? And how did these shadows fuel the artistry that made him unforgettable? Grief, glory, and the weight of legacy. In 2020, tragedy struck Robert Redford's family once again. His son, James Redford, known as Jamie, passed away at just 58 years old from bile duct cancer, a complication of his lifelong battle with liver disease. Jamie, a talented documentary filmmaker and co-founder of the Redford Center, had dedicated his life to telling stories that inspired change. His wife, Kyle, described him as someone who lived a beautiful and impactful life. But for Redford, then 84, the pain was almost unbearable. He had now buried two sons, a wound he once described as a scar that never truly heals. The death of Jamie mirrored the earlier loss of his first son, Scott, and underscored how Redford's brilliant career was constantly shadowed by personal grief. Behind the glitter of All the President's Men, The Sting, and the global triumph of Sundance, there was always sorrow pressing on his heart. Fast forward to 2025. At 89, Redford surprised audiences with a rare acting return after a 6-year hiatus. In the third season of Dark Winds, he made a haunting cameo as an incarcerated man locked in a tense chess match. Filmed on a closed set at his request, the performance was brief but powerful, reminding the world that even in his twilight years, Redford still commanded the screen. But whispers of new challenges soon emerged. Reports circulated of internal tensions within the Sundance Institute, with his daughters Shauna and Amy struggling to maintain his vision amid financial troubles and leadership disputes. Social media buzzed with speculation about his health, about the future of Sundance, and about what would become of his towering legacy. For fans, it felt as if the empire Redford built might be fading, weighed down by grief and uncertainty. And yet, even with these shadows, Redford's professional life remains nothing short of extraordinary. He was Hollywood's golden son, a man whose boyish charm and piercing blue eyes captivated audiences for over 6 decades. From Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid to The Way We Were, his star power was unmatched. And when he stepped behind the camera, his genius only deepened. His directorial debut, Ordinary People in 1980 stunned critics and audiences alike, winning 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. It marked not just a turning point in his career, but proof that Redford was more than an actor. He was a storyteller of rare depth and vision. Now, before we go further, who is Ron Howard? His story is both dazzling and devastating. Hollywood glory, shaped by personal scars. Early life and family roots. Ron Howard is a name that instantly stirs memories of American television's golden age and some of cinema's most unforgettable milestones. He is one of the rare artists who has not only survived but thrived in Hollywood for nearly 7 decades, all while keeping the trust and admiration of the public intact. From the wide-eyed red-haired boy on The Andy Griffith Show to the lovable Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, and later the visionary filmmaker behind masterpieces like Apollo 13 and the Oscar-winning A Beautiful Mind, Howard's journey stands as an extraordinary testament to resilience, discipline, and endless creativity. Unlike many child stars who lost themselves to fame's harsh glare, Howard stayed remarkably grounded, eventually finding his true calling in the director's chair. There, he did more than just recreate world-changing events. He guided audiences into intimate explorations of human vulnerability, courage, and redemption. Yet behind his polished success lay moments of struggle and pain, memories of difficult sets, the frustration of being overshadowed even in the very shows that made him famous, and the heartache of watching beloved characters evolve into something unrecognizable. Still, he rose above it all. What fueled this strength? How did Ron Howard manage to sustain such a dazzling career, remain devoted to his craft, preserve a marriage that has lasted nearly half a century, and cement his place in the history of global cinema? His story is not just the tale of an artist. It is the chronicle of a man relentlessly seeking honesty in storytelling, even amidst Hollywood's dazzling lights and carefully crafted illusions. Ronald William Howard, known today simply as Ron Howard, was born on March 1, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma, into a family deeply tied to show business. His father, Rance Howard, was already recognized as a versatile character actor, while his mother, Jean Spiegel Howard, also worked as an actress. Surrounded by scripts, sets, and stories from childhood, Ron absorbed the rhythms of performance and creativity naturally. This unique upbringing, combined with his undeniable talent, paved the way for a career that would stretch across decades. From his earliest days, it was clear Ron Howard wasn't just destined to be in Hollywood. He was destined to leave his mark on it forever. Ron Howard wasn't just destined to be in Hollywood. He was destined to leave his mark on it forever. Keep watching as we uncover every detail. The making of a Hollywood visionary. Ron Howard's journey into the world of entertainment began almost as soon as he could walk. Born into a family already immersed in show business, he naturally gravitated toward the stage and screen. His breakthrough came when he was cast as young Opie Taylor on the much-loved series The Andy Griffith Show, 1960 to 1968. Week after week, audiences watched him grow from a small boy into a thoughtful character, whose charm, innocence, and surprising wisdom won the hearts of millions. Howard's portrayal was not only authentic, but also layered with humor and warmth, making him a household name and earning admiration from critics and fans alike. After this early success, Howard proved he wasn't just a child actor who would fade away. In 1974, he took on the role of Richie Cunningham in the cultural phenomenon Happy Days. Set in the nostalgic glow of 1950s America, the series became an instant hit, and Howard's charisma, comedic timing, and natural screen presence solidified his place as one of television's most beloved figures. But even at the height of his acting fame, Howard's ambitions stretched far beyond being in front of the camera. From a young age, he had been captivated by the mechanics of storytelling, how lighting shaped a mood, how camera angles guided emotion, how editing created rhythm. Slowly, he transitioned from acting to directing, starting with smaller projects, commercials, and television episodes. These early efforts revealed a budding filmmaker with extraordinary sensitivity to human emotion, pacing, and narrative depth. By the late 1970s and 1980s, Howard had emerged as a full-fledged director. Splash, 1984, a romantic comedy starring Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah, showcased his ability to blend humor, romance, and fantasy in a way that touched audiences deeply. Just a year later, he released Cocoon, 1985, a poignant exploration of aging, rejuvenation, and the bonds of human connection. With this film, Howard proved he could handle ensemble casts and tell emotionally rich stories with grace and skill. His journey from child star to visionary director showed the world that Ron Howard wasn't just part of Hollywood's history. He was helping shape its future. What challenges did he face in making the leap from sitcom star to Academy Award-winning filmmaker? And perhaps most importantly, what hidden stories still lie behind his greatest triumphs? Stay tuned. Mastering the art of storytelling. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Ron Howard showed Hollywood that he wasn't just a former child actor dabbling in directing. He was a filmmaker with extraordinary range. He moved confidently across genres, from heartfelt family comedies like Parenthood, 1989, to pulse-pounding historical dramas such as Apollo 13, 1995. With Apollo 13, Howard delivered more than just a space movie. He crafted a gripping, emotionally charged story that honored history while keeping audiences on the edge of their seats, a testament to his ability to merge accuracy with human drama. But it was in the realm of biographical and historical storytelling that Howard left an indelible mark. His 2001 masterpiece, A Beautiful Mind, brought to life the struggles and triumphs of mathematician John Nash. The film not only swept audiences into Nash's complicated world, but also earned Howard the Academy Award for Best Director, cementing his reputation as one of the most respected storytellers in cinema. Later films like Froster-Nixon, 2008, and Rush, 2013, further underscored his fascination with real lives, power struggles, and the resilience of the human spirit. In 2006, Howard took a bold risk with the Da Vinci Code, adapting Dan Brown's controversial bestseller. Tackling themes of hidden history, religious secrets, and intellectual riddles, the film drew heavy fire, particularly from the Catholic Church for its daring interpretation of sacred traditions. Yet Howard leaned into the storm, guiding the narrative with precision and blending Tom Hanks's grounded performance with an atmosphere thick with mystery and suspense. The controversy only fueled curiosity. Despite the criticism, the film became a global phenomenon, grossing more than $758 million worldwide. It was proof not just of Howard's skill in handling provocative material, but of his rare talent, transforming divisive stories into captivating, thought-provoking blockbusters. But here's the question: was Ron Howard merely riding the wave of popular controversy, or was he quietly reshaping Hollywood's understanding of how stories rooted in history, faith, and human struggle could captivate the entire world? The epic adventures. By 2015, nearly a decade after his Oscar triumph, Ron Howard once again proved his unmatched versatility with the ambitious adventure drama In the Heart of the Sea. Serving as both producer and director, Howard brought to life Nathaniel Philbrick's gripping nonfiction account of the whale ship Essex. The true events of 1820, when a massive sperm whale rammed and sank the vessel, had inspired Herman Melville's timeless masterpiece, Moby Dick. With his signature attention to historical detail and flair for grandeur, Howard turned this harrowing survival tale into an emotionally charged epic about endurance, courage, and the fragile limits of human strength. The cast, led by Chris Hemsworth alongside Benjamin Walker, Cillian Murphy, and a young Tom Holland, delivered layered performances that made the story more than just a seafaring disaster. Howard emphasized not only the men's physical struggle against the merciless ocean, but also their inner battles, fear, guilt, and desperation that tested their humanity. While critics were divided, the film reflected Howard's fearless ambition to blend history, literature, and adventure into one immersive, cinematic experience. A year later, in 2016, Howard returned to familiar yet challenging ground with Inferno, the third installment of the Robert Langdon saga, following the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. Once again adapting a Dan Brown bestseller, Howard plunged audiences into a race against time where art, history, and science collided. Tom Hanks reprised his role as symbologist Robert Langdon, joined by Felicity Jones, Omar Sy, and Irfan Khan. From Florence to Venice to Istanbul, Howard wove together intellectual puzzles, frantic chases, and ominous symbolism, proving his mastery at transforming dense literary thrillers into fast-paced, globally appealing films. Now going back to Robert Redford, how did he balance unimaginable heartbreak with such extraordinary triumphs? Robert Redford, A Life in Retreat, A Legacy in Motion. High in Utah's Wasatch Range lies Robert Redford's 2,600-acre Sundance Mountain Resort, a sanctuary he has owned since 1968. For decades, this place has been more than just a retreat. It has been the embodiment of his vision, a refuge where art, nature, and sustainability coexist. Here, with his second wife, German artist Sibylle Sagars, whom he married in 2009, Redford lives quietly and intentionally. Their rustic home, adorned with solar panels and surrounded by trails he personally helped preserve, reflects his lifelong love for the natural world. That love was born early. As a boy, Redford found freedom in the wild expanses of Yosemite, and now in his late 80s, he still hikes, sketches, and paints, choosing these passions over Hollywood's relentless grind. "I prefer art," he once confessed to his grandson Dylan, a telling statement from a man who turned his back on stardom to embrace simplicity after a lifetime of unimaginable loss. The deaths of his sons, Scott in 1959 to SIDS, and Jamie in 2020 to cancer, along with the murder of a family friend, scarred him deeply. Nature and art became his healing ground. Yet in 2025, Redford astonished fans by returning to the screen. At 88, he appeared in Dark Winds Season 3, playing an imprisoned man locked in a tense chess match. The cameo, his first live-action role since Avengers Endgame, was filmed on a closed set at his request. Actor Zahn McClarnon called the moment a career highlight, proof that Redford's presence still carried cinematic weight. Public glimpses of him are rare. In early 2025, he appeared virtually at a Redford Center event championing environmental filmmaking, his weathered face showing age but not surrender. Months later, he was spotted at a Santa Monica cafe, coffee in hand, baseball cap pulled low. Some noted his slower gait, sparking whispers of frailty, while others praised his vigor, pointing to his hiking and painting as evidence of resilience. Robert Redford's rare public appearances and his monumental career, from The Sting to founding Sundance, cement him as a true living legend whose impact reaches far beyond the screen. Ron Howard once called Sundance a game changer that opened doors for untold stories and new filmmakers, proving Redford's vision reshaped Hollywood itself. Howard emphasized that people like Redford are rare, artists who remind us that cinema is not only entertainment, but a mirror powerful enough to change society. Their deep respect resonated with fans, who mourned his passing as the close of an era, yet his legacy endures, inspiring dreamers for generations. Robert Redford's legacy shines beyond the screen. His vision, passion, and stories will inspire forever. So, what's your favorite Redford moment? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.